Welcome to the Legacy Speaker Live show. I am Jasmine Haley, and we have today our guest, Melisa Alaba. Yeah,
Yes.
good. I did good. We're super excited to have her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. It's been a journey.
Yes, yes. And let me tell you, when you hear Melissa's story, when you learn of her expertise, it's going to transform you. It is. It just is. It's so inspirational. And this topic of developing our money mindset is essential. Before we get into that, though, y'all, let me tell you exactly who Melissa is. Melissa is the CEO of VisionWorks Coaching and Counseling. She's a breakthrough coach, speaker, published author, and creator of the Be Healed Transformation Process. She's also a mother and a chocolate lover. And why I wanted to have her here is because what she does is she actually helps her clients find their money blueprint so that they can heal old money wounds. Listen to that, y'all, and break generational cycles of lack, have life changing financial breakthroughs in their business and personal life. She helps women to heal emotionally at a spirit level, y'all, and has allowed her clients to have better relationships, feel more confident, create a business and life. She is the author of Live Out Loud 52 Ways to Reawaken Your Spirit and Live a Life of Purpose, and has been featured on Ebony Magazine, US News and World Report, Parents Magazine, and so many others. So we know that there's going to be so many gems dropped here today. And the first thing I want to get into is just your story of what led you into this level of expertise, because I think it's so powerful and beautiful of letting us all see what the possibilities are, whatever industry you come from, whatever background it is, there's something really beautiful about your story.
Oh, thank you. So, I'm a person that has stories on top of stories of how I got here. So, I'm going to give you the condensed version, which thanks to Jasmine, I have learned to be able to do, right? So, the condensed version is I knew I had a calling on my life to be a therapist and to be a healer. And that happened around 18, 19 years old. I wanted to go to school for fashion design, and I still love fashion. But I was called to really go into the arts of healing. And once I was in this world, I was told that you really can't make money in it. And my expectation should be no more than $30,000 per year. And this was like probably 20 years ago. But $30,000 back then was really the equivalent to about $40,000 now. Not much difference. Pretty much just saying, hey, you're going to have to pull a whole bunch of things together to be able to make this work. And I was like, no, that's not going to be me. And immediately after I graduated, I started my first private practice. And I would just say, for me, all of the journeys have been getting back to being able to do what I love and have a life that I love at the same time.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And so much of us have gotten into entrepreneurship for that reason.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, but despite that reason, we feel a little trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that for speakers, this is really one of the things that is like the number one thing I hear often. How do I get paid? How do I make money? How do I get paid? Where do I find a paid speaking gigs? How do I get money? How to, and then when they get the opportunity to negotiate, they fall back.
Yeah.
They fall back. So I would love to know, like, from your experience and working from a therapy side, right? There's so many other things that we kind of have to unmask. What would you say are some of the beliefs that you often hear? Because I want people to kind of identify themselves in it. A lot of times they're in denial.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the money mindset blocks that you often will hear, especially for those in business, when it comes to creating that wealth and breaking those cycles?
So I would definitely say the first thing, and especially like where we are today, is everybody is looking for like this blueprint. And although I have a money blueprint, when it comes to creating your own personal blueprint, you're going to have to do the work. And
Mhm.
so here's the piece that I think a lot of people get stuck is that Hey, you want the $5,000 speaking engagement, you want the $10,000 speaking engagement, or whatever your business is, but you're not doing the work of putting yourself out there. So a lot of times when these opportunities come, you sit in fear because you're not prepared. You haven't done the small stuff, and it all matters.
Yes.
It all matters. And so, like when you get up every day and you're pitching, or you get up every day and you're doing what it is that you do, you're sending out the newsletter, the email, all the things that are just a part of the day to day. When those opportunities come, you're ready. like you've been working. So,
Yes.
so you're ready for it. You're not playing games with these people. And so I just find that a lot of times people want the magic potion without actually putting it to work. And that's just one aspect.
Oh, Melissa, you better preach, okay? It's true.
Yep.
It's so true because the I'm just thinking for me in my own speaking career, and then now in the consulting work that I'm doing, I'm working with people on the foundational parts.
Right.
It's the foundation,
Yeah.
right? And so many people have skipped that and don't understand in order to get to that scaling and that growth, you have to come back and
Yes.
get those foundational pieces set first.
And that's in every business that you do. So, like before we went on, we talked about, different businesses. So I have the money breakthrough where I worked with people personally with their money, businesses, and helping them to be able to scale. But I also have coaching and a counseling business. And that was my very first business. And this is my second group practice. Any business that you have, service oriented, product, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to go through that phase of development. And then you're going to have to go through that phase of putting systems together and figuring out you in the process and how that matches up with your business in the
Yeah.
process. Like, and that is a process that you
Mm-hmm.
can't skip through, you can't skip over. And it's becoming more of who you are meant to be during that time. And as you're doing the work, that's when you're able to see what mindset issues are coming up, what things that are geared or are back in childhood that you didn't work through, or you may have worked through, but now that you're at this level, they're returning in a different way.
Yes.
But you won't get to that point until you're actually doing the work.
Mm. And I want to clarify this for listeners because I think this is important for them to hear. No matter what stage you are in your business or in your speaking business, you're going to have to uncover a new level
Yes.
of this, of the
Mm-hmm.
mindset issues.
Yep.
Can you confirm that for us as
Absolutely.
a licensed professional?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because most people think that it stops. Like you get to that $500,000 business, that $1 million business, and then no mindset stuff comes up. But the old things come up in a new way. And for most of us, especially as women, hiding comes up. Like we're not used to being seen on such a big level.
Mm.
And so we say we want this thing, but then when we get it, and this is also the reason why many people don't do the work day to day. It's
Yes.
because it's like, oh my God, what if I make a mistake? Oh my God, I have to be perfect. Oh my God, what if I fail? What if people see me? So they can't even get to the six figures, let alone multiple six figures and millions, because they're tripping over stuff that was said that said that you're not good enough and self-worth is coming up. And that
Mm.
continues to happen at each level. And you have to keep pushing through.
Oh, it's so true because I remember hitting my first six figures and what that felt like.
Yeah.
And then when I got to multiple six figures, it's like, okay, I'm still working through it.
Mm-hmm.
Not as big as it was the first time I hit
Yep.
it. And now I'm hitting a huge milestone that I was scared to actually say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the part of having conversations like this and talking with other people who are like-minded and actually saying out loud, here's this big audacious goal that I want to be able to achieve. It's really liberating because many of us have been surrounded or have heard conversations with money that have impacted the way we show up and the way we ask for the interchange that's necessary for the value that we're providing for our services. We're
Yeah.
scared to ask for that amount. I would love
Mm-hmm.
to know, like, for you, your perspective on that and what you've seen with your clients when it comes to kind of breaking some of the generational things that happen when it comes to money mindset.
Absolutely. So I have a process in which I take you back and we look at your ancestral history. So we look at your mother's side, your father's side, grandparents, and so forth. But we look at the sayings that they said to you, the things that you heard from your mom, so forth. And then we look at how that's playing out in your life.
Mm.
Because a lot of us have stuff that was input from so long ago.
Hmm.
And another big piece of the clearing that I work to do is what we call ancestral clearing, which is kind of what you said, but more so like the ancestors that we don't even know about. So the ones that we never got to meet, but we know went through the middle passage, that is really huge because a lot of our ancestors, like if you have ancestry, and this is not everyone, but if you have an ancestry history of your folks being enslaved, your ancestors, then it was things that came along with not being able to hold money, not being able to read or write. There's shame there. There's also scarcity there and being scared of for your life.
Yes.
So when we look at where we are today as a people, it's reasons why folks of color don't necessarily always hold on to money, but as soon as they get it, they spend it. And we can look at that in the numbers and the data over time of how much wealth that we
Wow.
actually hold right now. So there's a lot that goes into that. And so resetting yourself to hold money is huge because, again, most programs out here talk about being a millionaire, but talk to some of the millionaires and see how many of them actually have $1 million in assets or actual money in the bank. Not a lot.
Mm.
So you see that we get into like the joy of the spending, which is great. Like take care of yourself and things like that. But when I talk to some of my counterparts, and again, I'll just share this story. A good friend of mine, I went to his retreat. It was some years ago, and it was really cool retreat. And he had been a millionaire for probably about 10 years. He sold a book. So a book, he wound up selling it to colleges, and it made him a multimillionaire. And
Mm.
he shared how he and his family of four lived off of $60,000 a year. And they traveled all around the world. They did all these things, but their house was paid for. But in order to have generational wealth, that is the number that they set and they live comfortably with. When I tell you, the people in the room were like, what? $60,000. But here's the thing, and this is the work that I know when I'm working with folks. $60,000, which is about today, because that was probably like that conversation was probably like 6 years ago. $70,000 today, anywhere from 60 to 70,000 is a good amount to live off of and
Yeah.
to really have a great life. Um, so now we're looking at investing the rest. We're looking at generational wealth. We're looking at teaching because it's not enough just to have wealth that you pass down to your kids. You have to have conversations.
Ooh.
So I've been having these conversations with my kids since they were small, money conversations. And I don't care how much you have. If you have nothing, but you just have an insurance policy and you own a car, you need to be having money conversations with your kids,
Mm.
even in terms of the careers and things that they go for or the college that they're paying for. Money conversations about because you're your own personal asset. And I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, or I'm getting ahead of myself,
No, you're
but
not. No,
I
you're
get
not.
excited when it talks about money. We're
Yes.
our own best asset. And
Yeah.
many people, when we think of scarcity, people get scared because they're thinking like, "Oh, this job is going to go away. This so so so." You're the asset, baby. Think about it. If we go back
You
to
the gift.
days of slavery, the
Okay.
people on the plantation, we're the freaking asset.
Yes.
There is no scarcity as long as I'm here
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I can always produce something for myself and for my family. Even if
Yes.
that means it's a pivot, I'm ahead of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody gets to be ahead of that. So that's really the work that I do is to help people to be empowered by who they are, their skills, their talents, and what they bring to the table. Once you have that empowerment, even if you're in a corporate space, you're not going to work with your head bowed down. You know,
Yeah.
if this doesn't work, I have another choice.
Oh, when I discovered that, I remember I can tell you exactly when I discovered that.
Yeah.
I knew because it was a huge shift.
Yeah.
And I was in a toxic work environment. And for a while, I felt like where am I gonna go? I don't have nowhere to go. There's no way. I thought that was gonna be the job I was gonna retire in. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I was that set on that place. But what I came to realize was I had this level of expertise no one can take away. I was an excellent educator. I had event plan for nonprofits. I had saw what speakers were doing, and I was like, I'm gonna make this work.
Yeah.
And when I figured out that I was going to be okay and I had what it took because of all of the lessons that had come in my life previously, all the gifts that God has given me, I started walking different into
Mhm.
spaces. My shoulders were back. My head
Yes.
was up. I realized I'm going to be okay.
Hmm.
And it's transferred into my own business. It transferred when I built a business from scratch just on speaking in events, and then I needed to tap into that again when I pivoted outside of healthcare after getting comfortable and
Hmm.
decided to build a new brand outside of healthcare. That was scary, but there was something that you said earlier that really touched me. When we look at the science of epigenetics and trauma, we are
Hmm.
carrying so much from our ancestors hundreds of years ago.
Yes.
It is in the DNA. Science has proven it for the people who think this is woo. This ain't woo. This
Hmm.
is reality. Okay?
Reality.
And we have to work through that. And a critical part of leveraging and scaling your business through speaking and training is tackling this money mindset. It's not optional.
Yep.
There's no way we can make bigger impact.
Absolutely. Because you're going to have worries, you're going to have fears. But here's the thing, and this is also like, so along with all the worries and the fears that were passed down to us through DNA, hope was also passed down to us. So
Yes.
when we think about all the other people that were forced to come here, and there were white folks, that didn't make it. There were folks from the Orient that came and couldn't handle it being on the railroad. We had hope. And I feel like it was the prayers of our ancestors that got us here today. They had hope and a vision of a future
Mhm.
that was so deep. It had to be for them to endure so much for us to be here. And
Mhm.
oftentimes when I am in that space, because we all have these spaces when it's like, oh my God, like this year is one of those years where I was like, I had these big goals. I knew
Yep.
what my money thing was going to be, and I did not make it. And I didn't make it, but I did really well compared to most people. And I mean, I did really well for me. I think our income doubled from last year, but I had this quadruple number in my head. So I'm literally just getting around to acceptance, folks. I'm just getting around to acceptance, where I'm like, girl, you did good. You literally made 100% of your income from last year. Like you make, like, and then the other thing about it too is you can have a big number. You
Yeah.
can have a big number. You can be $1 million business and only draw $150,000 salary. And
Mm.
so for me, I have like this really nice salary that I decided that I wanted to have. But anyway, I say all that to say, to backtrack, we can get down on ourselves, but what I remember most is my grandparents, and I remember the hope that they had, and I remember the things that they were able to do with less resources that I have today.
Mm.
That is often the catalyst for me to get up off the couch,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get out of my like, woe is me. And I'm like, okay, your grandma had a third grade education, built her own home. Okay, it was debt free on 10 acres of land, and she worked as a maid. All right, so and with a rental property.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm out, girl. You got a whole master's degree and all these different things.
Right? Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. And when you put things in perspective, because it's so easy for us to get in that chicken little syndrome
Yes.
where like one thing goes wrong and it's like, I'm not cut out for this. It's
Yes.
never going to work.
Yes.
I remember like last year, I no 2020, I had set a goal. I said it on a podcast and I said, I want to make X, Y, and Z. It was a multi six figure number. I didn't make it.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. And the next year, I was in a place where I didn't make it again. I didn't make it again, but the difference was that I surrendered and got really aligned to where were the gaps in my business and what how did I need to show up
Yep.
differently with my pricing, with my offers, things like of that nature. And now that I'm in 2022, I've surpassed that goal that I stated in 2020. I am now like heading in another big, monumental financial goal that I've set for myself. And if I don't reach it, it's okay because
Yeah.
I will. I
Yeah,
will
you
eventually.
will. And
Yes.
that's the confidence that comes like once you've been doing this work, like you
Yeah.
know you'll reach it. And here's one of the things that I remembered, even when I was talking to myself, I said, whoa, looking at this year, I remember, and I was like, this was a year and a half ago where this was the goal. And I
Mm,
had forgot about. I was like, man, at one point that was the what I did was the goal. And I was
yeah.
like, well, damn, we're doing that, and I'm doing that like with Fridays and Mondays off because that's another thing. I believe there are three types of things that people think about when they go into business. Some folks think about their time that they want back. A lot of people in corporate think about that. Some people think about personal freedom, and then
Yeah.
some people think about money. And for me, it's personal freedom, time, and money in
Yeah.
that order. And
Yeah.
so I only work 3 days a week, and it's been that way for a while. And that's for a lot of different reasons. One was because I had cancer, which we talked about at one point,
Mhm.
and that changed the way in which one I realized I could do a lot more with less effort, and
Yeah.
two I had to in
Yeah.
order to preserve my own mental health. And so
Mm.
now that I'm in a space where I'm much more healed and better, I didn't want to change that. I was like, I don't need to be running around doing all those things. It didn't even make sense. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. I want to hear my last final question is really just tapping into you as a speaker
Hmm.
because I think this is really important for other people to see. I'm not just a speaker, y'all. Okay, there are other people out there who have leveraged speaking for their business, and I would just love to hear your thoughts on how speaking has helped to amplify what it is that you do and why other businesses who are looking to amplify their work should not wait on speaking.
Well, I think one is it puts you in front of an audience of a bunch of people who you would not have met all together like that at one time. Two, you get to share your story and make a great impact on a bunch of people at one time that you wouldn't have met. And then three, for me, having a service business, it's that carry on of someone hearing about my business, utilizing my services, or telling other people about them. I think that just speaks for itself. And I've had an opportunity to speak at hospitals, I've had an opportunity to speak at corporations. And I just also just believe like where we are in this particular point in time in history, people are like looking to hear and learn from different folks on a lot of different topics which they had never thought about before. So like money trauma, which I recently became certified in, is a new field or new thought process in psychology even. And so looking at the science behind it, and this coming year, as we come into this year, I'll be doing a lot more speaking on that, including creating my own programs in which I'll be targeting just to people who are therapists and coaches. So I'm excited about it. I just feel like it's the impact. That's why people to do it is because I feel like I'm here not only just to make money, but to make an impact. And
Yes,
that's what makes this work so important and so giving. Like it gives back more than I could ever take from it. So I'm excited about that.
I love that. I love that. And Melissa was one of my favorite clients to actually see actually take and one of our attendee members for our workshop just take the heart methodology and use it for your expertise in such a creative way, especially with money trauma.
Yeah.
And that was just really awesome. So I love the fact that you mentioned that is we have areas of expertise that we sometimes think, oh, everyone pretty much knows this.
Hmm.
People are waiting to hear your message to help deliver them for whatever challenges they're particularly facing.
Absolutely. And I enjoyed our time together so immensely. Like, I think one of the first things I said, before I signed up was like, hey, is this going to be a real training? Or is this like, you just talking about your program? And you were like, no, there's no fluff. You'll
Yeah,
be learn. And immediately when I got there, I shared with you, oh my God, this was like no fluff. Like, we really did the work. We walked away with a process.
yeah,
And for me, and I think for anyone who's in business, like, you don't have time to waste. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like, so every weekend is important. Everything that you invest in, those are monies that could be invested in something else. So you don't have time to waste, and you
mhm,
want to get to the thing. And so I was able to come, refocus my talks, and then once I refocused my talks, like, literally, she had everything set up for you. And then I sent it out to my VA to get my little one sheet down. And then, hey, look, we were ready. We were ready. We were sending it out. Okay. Because it's all about,
yes,
once you prepare and you do the work, that's just like with anything in your business. Now you got to go out there and pitch it and make it work for you.
yes,
And I enjoyed your process so much because it put you in a position to be able to do that.
yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that. And you did execute. Okay, you was not playing.
Yes.
And those are the little things we were talking about in the outset that we need to be doing for our business. So take note, y'all. All right, please let the listeners know where they can find out more information about your work. I'm about to tap in and figure out when I can join one of your workshops because this has been such a phenomenal conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you can reach out to me at www.melisaalaba.co, or you can visit us at my counseling website, which is visionworkscoaching.com.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Melissa. I really appreciated your time today.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yes, it was so good. So good. All right, y'all. Listen, I don't know about you, but I am on fire. When you are reaching these next levels, you need next level support. And that's exactly what Melissa is able to provide. And money mindset is such a huge, very huge component for you to take your business to the next level, for you to scale your business and scale your legacy. And we know, as you often have heard me say, your economic bandwidth is absolutely crucial to you making a bigger impact in the communities that you serve. So I'm going to highly encourage you to reach out to Melissa and her amazing work. And of course, if you want to find out more about our speaker resources, you can check us out at jasminehaley.com. I will see you in our next episode. Bye bye.